Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is part of a series of webinars specifically designed for new members or people that are just logging into BNI Connect for the first time. We go through all the aspects and the areas of the system so that you feel comfortable using it and are able to jump in right away to get started. So we had our first webinar last week, and we talked about how to fill out your profile and how to make sure that it's displayed properly on all of the various web pages throughout the system. Today, what we're going to be talking about is how to use the online slips in BNI Connect so that you can track your referrals in much greater detail than you can using the paper slips at the meeting. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about connecting with other members and how to utilize the social media aspects of BNI Connect. In our fourth part of the series, we're going to talk about member tools and reports, so we're going to go even deeper into BNI Connect. And then finally, on Thursday, our last of this five-part series, we're going to talk about the visitor portion of BNI Connect and how you can invite visitors and register visitors and even follow up with visitors following the meeting. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started today, and the first of which is that this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions whatsoever as we're going through things today, do feel free to ask those questions. I'll be happy to answer them as we're going through the material today, or if it's somewhat unrelated, I'd be happy to answer that question afterwards. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes. It's about how long it takes to go through this particular topic. That being said, if you do have questions, we will stay on the line until every single question has been answered. So the only silly question is the unasked question. We're also going to record the entire session, including the questions and answers period. If you'd like to be able to review this later, you can always find it on the support site. The support site is accessible by clicking on this question mark here in the upper right-hand corner of the system. And you can also go directly to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com. youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. And this has all of our videos, including all of the recorded content, as well as some things like education moments. So there's tons and tons of stuff up there. But let's get started here on today's topic. And again, that is the member module or the online slips. Now, one thing you may not know about me is that I am also a member of BNI. I've been a member of BNI since 2002, so I'm coming up, closing in on 14 years with BNI. Now, when I first started in BNI, of course, we didn't have BNI Connect. We were just basically had pieces of paper, and even if I wanted my stats for how well I was doing, I was at the mercy of my vice president or somebody else on the leadership team bringing a report to the meeting and sharing everything with us. The great thing about BNI Connect is you have access to all of that stuff really at your fingertips whenever you'd like it. This right here, what we're looking at is the home screen of BNI Connect. So when you first log into the system, this is what you're going to see. So up at the top of the screen, you have some drop-down boxes. If you're a director, consultant, or executive director someday, you'll be able to access more than just your chapter statistics for all the chapters in your region, for example. Then we have the ability to go in and customize our profile. We can change our password. We can update our profile. We went over some of that stuff on the previous webinar. Then we have the My BNI Business, and this is really your stats. This is your personal statistics in BNI. So it's going to show you by default the last 12 months of activity, as well as your lifetime in BNI. So you can see at a glance, how many referrals have you passed? How many referrals have you received? How many visitors have you been credited for? Thank you for closed business and one-to-ones and CEU. So all that information is right there in front of you that you can look at. You can also get a detailed view of this by clicking on the My Personal Participation report right up here. And when you click on this, it'll open up the Personal Palms report. This will by default show you the last 12 months of your activity in the chapter. And it will show you week by week by week. So you can see exactly what was entered for you for every single weekly Palms report following your meeting. At the bottom, it'll also show you people that you've sponsored into BNI, as well as training that you've attended in the past 12 months. Now, the only figure that might not be there, unless you've been using the online slips, which we're going to go over in just a minute, is this revenue received to my business. Now, this number is not recorded in the POMS report anywhere. However, once you start using the online slips with BNI Connect, we'll start to tally the money that you're thanking other people for generating for your business, and we'll present this number to you as revenue received to my business. Now, the only way you can do that is by submitting thank you for closed business slips online through BNI Connect. The rest of the numbers here, the referrals received, the thank you for closed business given, referrals given, visitors, one-to-one CEUs, all of those should be populated regardless of whether you're using the online slips or whether you're using the paper slips at your local chapter meeting. Now, the bottom of the page here has all of the different activities that you can do. The first four are submitting the slips themselves. So you can submit a thank you for closed business or a referral or a one-to-one or a CEU. If people start sending you referrals online through BNI Connect, you can also track those referrals that you've received. And when you submit any of your slips online through BNI Connect, you can also review all of the details of those slips. There's also a received referrals report and the ability to print the weekly slips before your chapter meeting. So let's take a look at how each of these different things work. So let's say that I want to turn in a referral, right? That's one of the things that we like to do. We like to submit referral slips. So if I've met somebody that I can refer to somebody else in my chapter, or if I'm going to be referring myself to somebody for their services, I can click on Submit a Referral Slip. Now, it's fairly straightforward. It should look pretty familiar. It looks just like the paper slips that we use at the chapter meetings. All we need to do is to pick somebody from our chapter. So let's say I have a referral for James Lawrence. He's the life and wills and trusts attorney in my chapter. And let's say I have a referral, my father-in-law. He needs to get a will done for him and his family. So I'm going to refer him to Jim Lawrence. Now, this is a Tier 2 referral. It's an outside referral. For those of you that may not know the difference between a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 referral, a Tier 1 or an inside referral is if I am referring myself. So if I needed to get some estate planning done or my own will created, and I referred myself to James, that would be an inside referral. An outside referral is when I refer anybody else except me to somebody in my chapter. So anybody that I know, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be in-laws, it could be clients or colleagues or anybody else that I know, if I refer them, that would be considered an outside referral. I do need to mark the referral status at this point, so I can let Jim know that I told my father-in-law Joe that he would be giving him a call. I can put their address information in, 1 Here Street in Hereville, Rhode Island, and the telephone number and email address. I can also put whatever comments that I'd like to put in. He is looking for a complete rewrite of his current will. All right, I can then choose whether or not this is a hot or a tepid referral, 1 being a cooler referral and 5 being a very, very hot referral. I'm going to call this one a 4. And then at the bottom, I have a couple of options. I can save and new, which means I'm going to submit this one and automatically open a new referral if I have, let's say, 2 or 3 or 4 referrals to do in a row. Or I can hit submit, and this will just take me back to my home screen. If I hit close, it will cancel this particular referral slip. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. It does let us know that we want to be sure that we still have our weekly meetings and that we want to be celebrating this activity at our meeting. Now, once I submit referral slips, I can use these reports down here at the bottom to review my slips. And the great thing is when you pass in a referral slip at the meeting, a paper slip, once you pass that paper slip to the vice president, it gets entered into the POMS report, and then the rest of that piece of paper gets thrown away. So you lose all of those details unless you're recording them separately. When you're putting these in online, it makes the vice president's job easier because it automatically updates the report for them. And it also means that you can go back and review the slips and their details. So if I go in and I review the referrals given report, this shows me 2 referrals that I've passed in the last 30 days. And you can see the one here that I just put in for James Lawrence. It has all of the details, so I can review them. Now, one thing you'll notice as well is that it's showing that the POMS status is a draft status. And what that means is that the POMS report has not yet been submitted by the vice president for this weekend. We haven't had our meeting yet this week since we meet on Thursdays and it's only Tuesdays. It should stay in draft status until at least after our meeting. Usually it happens fairly close to the end of the meeting. Now I can also review, I don't just need to review 1 month. I could go back. We started using this in 2012, so I could go back 3 years and review all of the referrals that I've ever submitted. And you can see most of these are now completed at this point because those POMS reports have been submitted. One of the great things about doing it this way is that you can also look to see who you're giving the most referrals to. So you can see if you're participating in your power team or in your contact sphere. So if, for example, I click on the referral name here, that's going to sort the list for me. Or if I click the to here, it's going to sort who I'm giving the referrals to. And I can go in and I can review who I am giving referrals to. For example, I can see I've given quite a few referrals to Joseph Sylvia, who happens to be the printer salesman in my chapter, which is a very good referral partner for me. This type of information is only available if you submit the slips online through BNI Connect. The other great thing about the slips online through BNI Connect, especially the referral slips, is that when you submit a referral, your referral partner is notified of that referral immediately. So they don't have to wait until the next week until the meeting happens in order to get all of the details about this referral. For example, here's a referral notification that I received recently from Ken Neff. He's a cell phone concierge in our chapter. He let me know he referred me to a Poliquin group and their phone number is available so I can immediately call that person. Lets me know the comments, what they need some help with. And finally, it gives me Ken's contact information. So if I need to call Ken, I can call him right away without having to go and look up his numbers or his email address. Now the other slips work in a very similar way. So for example, if I've had a thank you for closed business for somebody, so somebody else might have referred me some business, I was able to close that sale, and now I want to make sure that I recognize that person for generating that money for my business. So we do that by going into Submit Thank You for Closed Business Slip. And here we have the ability to choose somebody from the chapter. So let's say that Charlie Westcott, he's a social media consultant, a great referral partner for me. He referred me to somebody, Jane Smith. Oh, sorry, oops, referral that closed in the amount of $1,000. And it was new business, it was an outside referral. And in the comments, I can put whatever details I want about this transaction. For example, this was for Jane Smith for a new computer purchase. Now the comments for a thank you for closed business will only be available for me to review. So when I go and I review my thank you for closed business slips, I can see all of those details. However, my vice president, who would see this in the POMS report, is only going to see that Charlie Westcott here was thanked for $1,000. Even the fact that it came from me is anonymous. Once I'm ready, I can click Submit. And as with the referral slips, there is a corresponding report that I can review all of my thank you for closed business. By default, it's going to show me the last 6 months, but of course I can go in and view any period of time. I can go back to 2012 when, again, this first started. And I can review every single thank you for closed business that I've turned in. And here's the one that I just put in for Charles Westcott here, for Jane Smith for a new computer purchase. And this is really helpful because sometimes there's quite a bit of time that goes in between when you submit a thank you for closed business and when the referral might have been passed. For example, sometimes it could take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So if a member comes up to you and says, hey, by the way, did you ever pass in that thank you for closed business for that job that I referred you to a couple of months ago? Now, I don't know about you, but I have a hard time remembering what I had for breakfast this morning, let alone whether or not I passed that referral 2 months, 3 months, or that thank you for closed business 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months ago. Now I can go back and I can say, you know what? Liz, that referral that you did give me 3 months ago, yep, I thanked you for that, and it was for $2,000, and I can even see what it was that I thanked them for. Of course, just like the other report, you can see who your best referral partners are as well by sorting this thank you to. So now I can see, based on the sort here, who am I thanking for generating the most business for me? By looking through the list, I can see which names are repeating quite often. I can also see maybe who is my largest referral giver. And I could take a look through some of those totals as well. One-to-one slips, those are submitted in a very similar fashion. We click on Submit One-to-One. We can choose somebody from the chapter. Now, with a lot of these slips as well, so the referrals and the thank you for closed business and the one-to-ones, in many regions around the world, you can also record cross-chapter activity within your area. For example, if I meet with somebody that is a BNI member in another chapter in my region, I can record that for activity in the PALMS report as well. Now, keep in mind, it is only available to other members within your region. So I can't, for example, I'm here in the Rhode Island region. I can record activity with other members here in Rhode Island, but I can't necessarily record activity with people in Ohio or Chicago or California or India or the UK or any place else, just within my region. But in order to record that activity, again, I can click on Search Cross Chapter, and I can search for other members in my region. One thing to keep in mind is that searches here in BNI Connect, we're searching against a database. So the less information you put in, the better, because that'll yield more results. For example, there's a member in another chapter here in Rhode Island that fills a very specific website need for me that the person in my chapter does not. So I often meet with him and we refer a bit of business to each other. His name is David Cordero. Now, I can never remember if in BNI Connect he goes by Dave or David. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the first couple of letters of his name in here, Dave, because that'll pick up both David and Dave. And his last name, once again, I can never really remember how to spell that. I know it's Cordero, but I don't know if it's I-E-R-O or E-I-R-O. So I'm just going to put a couple of letters in for his last name as well. And when I click search here, here it goes. He pulls up. Oh, I see it is David, and it is E-I-R-O. So that helped me to find him correctly as opposed to spelling it wrong and this coming up with no results. When I put a little dot here in the box, it asks me if I want to select that person. And now his name will show up in who I met with. I can put the location that we met. Let's say that we met at David's office. And we talked about progress on a mutual client and some new web technologies. What day did we meet? We met on Friday. And if I have multiple one-to-ones to enter, I can go ahead and click Save and New. Otherwise, I'm just going to click Submit to record this one-to-one. And now this one-to-one will be recorded. Now with one-to-ones, we have our one-to-one report. And the one-to-ones will be entered for both participants. So for example, it will show up in Dave's one-to-one report as well. Only one person needs to submit it. If Dave goes and tries to submit it, he will get a warning message saying, hey, Jeremy's already submitted this one. There's no need to submit another one. But both of us will be able to see the topics of discussion and the location. And once our respective vice presidents submit the POMS report for the week, we'll both get the credit for that in the POMS, and this will change from draft to completed. Now, one of the things about the one-to-one report is that, let me go back a little further in time here, is that you can start to see who you've met with. And it's a great idea to strategize your one-to-ones so that you're meeting with the right people and you're meeting with them regularly. For example, we usually in BNI say you should have at least one one-to-one per week, but who should you have that one-to-one with? Well, if you take a look at your one-to-one report, you can see basically who haven't you met with in a while and whether or not you're meeting with the people from your power team or your contact sphere on a regular basis. Finally, we do have the CEU slips. So after you've taken some type of a training, for example, today's training, make sure that you submit a CEU credit for yourself. You can do this. For example, we have a BNI webinar here, which is worth 1 credit. So with today's presentation, please go ahead and submit a 1 quantity one-to-one slip for you. All right, and as people are passing you referrals in BNI Connect, you can also use your received referrals report. And you can see all the referrals that you've received. Now, I'm actually working in the test system right now. Let me switch over to the live system and let's take a look. And I can review my received referrals, again, for the last 6 months or as far back in time as you'd like to go. And from here, you can view who gave you the referrals and any of the details about that referral. You'll also notice that in this report, there's a status line, new, closed. When people send you referrals in BNI Connect, you can start to track them. If you remember to your member success program, we had what was called the referral tracking sheet. So I can go into track my referrals received online. And here's 2 referrals that were referred to me in the last month. I can go in and, for example, edit this referral. I can fill out any additional details. If let's say they didn't have the email address at the time that they submitted the referral, I can go in and fill out that information. I can also mark when I contacted them. So I contacted them the day that they referred me, and I know that I followed up with them, or I met with them a few days later. And when I followed up with them this morning, I can now mark that this referral has closed. And the nice thing is that Joe will, my referral partner here, he will see that result in his referrals given report. Once I click submit, this will update that information in both of our reports. And if you'd like to, let's say that you've received a referral that did not come electronically through BNI Connect, either maybe from somebody in your chapter that's using the paper slips as opposed to the online slips, or it could even be an outside referral that you just want to track through BNI Connect. You can do that by adding a new referral that you'd like to track. Anything that you enter in here or change in here, keep in mind that this does not impact the POMS report. This is a standalone referral tracking system in that way. Now, finally, one thing I always get asked is, well, we're doing all these online slips and everything. Well, how are we supposed to have a paper slip so that we can be included for the door prize? And from a lot of vice presidents, I get, well, how are we supposed to do the referral reality check? Well, both of those things can be done because you can print your referral slips on a weekly basis before your chapter meeting. Right down here at the bottom, the last thing on the list is print your weekly slips. When I click Go, this will allow me to print the slips that I've entered for that week. So if I go ahead and click this print button, here we'll see the referral slip that I entered in. Now you'll notice the referral slip prints in, well, approximately the same shape and size as a regular slip that you'd have at the chapter meeting. It has who the referral was to and who it was from and what the referral name was. So it has just enough information in order to be able to win the door prize and to be used as a referral reality check. It also lists out the other details, so the thank you for closed business and the one-to-one and the CEUs. Now, those don't print in a slip format because there's not really a need to turn in the slip since it's automatically entered into the POMS report. However, we do absolutely want to still announce this information at the chapter meeting. That's what's really impressive to visitors, and that's what's really exciting at the chapter meeting, is being able to report on all of this activity. Now, if you don't want to use your own printer and your own paper and your own ink, that's perfectly fine. Your chapter will still have paper slips available. So if you'd like to be included for the door prize, even though you've entered it online, you can go ahead and fill one out. My recommendation is just to make sure you put an X through it. That'll signify to the, or signal to the vice president that you've already entered that information online in BNI Connect. And that is the online referrals in BNI Connect. So what I'd like to do now is to open this up to any questions that you might have. Again, the only silly question is the unasked question. We do have a couple of minutes till the bottom of the hour, but again, I am always happy to stay on these calls until every single question has been answered. All right, so I have a question from Bob. I'm a chapter VP. How does this work for me now that they're submitting them online? Oh, no, that's an excellent question. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So what happens is when members of your chapter are submitting the slips, they're all building up in a draft copy of the POMS report for your next meeting. So let me show you what that actually looks like. I'm going to show you my own personal chapter. So I'm a member of the Wakefield chapter of BNI in Rhode Island. So the way a vice president goes in to enter POMS reports on a weekly basis is they go to operations and then meeting management and then enter POMS report. I'm going to choose to enter my report for this week, even though we haven't met yet, because what I want to do is show you what's happening in the report. So what you'll see here is that even though we haven't met yet and my vice president hasn't put anything in, the report is starting to get filled out already. And this is all activity, so referrals and one-to-ones and things like that, that members have been inputting as they happen during the week. So that way, at the end of the week, because our chapter is 100% digital when it comes to slips, at the end of the week, after our meeting, all our vice president has to do is they go in and take attendance against all the members and then submit the POMS report as opposed to having to fill out all of the details. So it really does make the vice president's job a lot easier. The vice president can also go in and check the slips audit report, and the slips audit report will show the details of what has been entered so far. And once again, you'll see that the thank you for closed business is anonymous. It's only showing the person that was thanked for generating the business. It doesn't show who received the dollars. And that is done intentionally so that it preserves people's anonymity in that. If they would like to share that information, if they'd like to announce that they made that money, they would have to do that at the chapter meeting. So that was an excellent question. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Catherine says, my menu does not have the print your slips option. So a lot of these words that are on the screen are done based on your language setting. So down at the bottom, no matter what, it's going to be the bottom option, and it might say um, personal meeting activity report. In some languages, it is still called the personal meeting activity report. So Catherine, do you see that at the bottom of the list? So that is the same report. So if you click on the personal meeting activity report, that is the same thing that we call it in the United States here, the print your weekly slips. I'm not sure if you happen to be from another country, if you're from the UK or if you're from Canada or Australia for that matter, you might be using a different version of English. If you are in the United States and it's still not saying that, here's how to change that. Click on update your profile. And then if you go to the second tab, which is your user profile tab, and you can change your language to English, the US version of English. Some people may have it set to no language, which is going to default to the UK version of English. Okay, Catherine says it still won't print. Catherine, do you happen to be using Windows 10? Is your computer Windows 10? So if it is Windows 10, there is a bug, and it's a Microsoft bug with the Edge browser. And the Edge browser does have this weird thing about printing, so you would have to use Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, and then it would work. So Catherine, what seems to be happening that it won't print if you're on Windows 7? And I'll tell you what, Catherine, why don't you, because this seems to be a specific computer-related issue. If you'd like to, we can, it goes to the table form. So if you click on the print your weekly slips, there should be, and again, for you, it's the other report, the personal meeting activity sheet. There should be two options here, slip and table. Make sure that slip is the one that's selected here. And keep in mind, the only thing that will print in the big format is referral slips. Everything else will print in table format. Only the referral slips print in the big format. All right. So again, only referral slips print big. Everything else prints small. And again, that's because only the referral slips count towards the door prize and the referral reality check. Everything else has already been entered into the POMS report. So there's not necessarily a need to pass in individual one-to-one slips or individual CEU slips at that point. So hopefully that helps. Oh, good to hear you've started using it. That's a step in the right direction. All right. Does anybody else have any questions at all? I'd be happy to answer those questions. All right. While you're thinking of any last minute questions, just a reminder, you can find all of the help articles, walkthroughs, guides, et cetera, on the support site. To get to the support site, all you do is click right here on the question mark in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you to the support site. Now, the first thing you'll see on the support site is all of our upcoming webinars. Our very next webinar is going to be tomorrow, which also happens to be my birthday. Great birthday present and referral for me is to please join me for tomorrow's webinar, which is going to be on connecting with other members. So I'm going to show you how to search BNI Connect and find the details of any other BNI member around the world and then add them to your personal address book. Excuse me, I'm going to also show you how to use the testimonials portion of BNI Connect and also how to have worldwide discussions with the groups in BNI Connect. We're going to follow that up on Wednesday with the tools and reports and Thursday with inviting and registering visitors. So please do join us. And a good referral for me is to please let your other chapter members know, especially any new members that might be part of your chapter, about these webinars. You can also find all of the recordings here, the recorded webinars, in any of these links and also on our YouTube channel. All right, if there's no additional questions, what I'm going to say is thank you guys so much for spending the last half hour or so with me. I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar, and happy connecting.